And welcome back to the Press Start Podcast. This is episode number 75, and I'm your host, Vic, aka Mr. Never Chillin', and I'm joined by my co host, Scobie1. Oh.
Hey guys, how you doing?
And of course, we're joined by my other co host, Lunatic Oblivion, and he's also returning back from his sickness. So, welcome back.
Hey guys, how you doing this week?
Pretty good, man.
Doing good.
I'm glad you're back to returning. You're getting over your sickness. I'm getting sick, or in the middle of my sickness. I'm like, man, what the hell is going on?
I went from COVID before Christmas to the flu after Christmas. I'm done. I got every sickness for 2022 and 2023. I'm ready. The rest of
Yo,
the
man.
year should just be good. I've,
Yeah,
I've gotten it all this year.
you got to get it out of the way. That's what you got to do. You got to start
It
the
was a
year off
speed
terrible
run.
and sick. That way you can just it's all uphill from there.
Yeah, you got to just speed run the sickness early part of the year, then you get to save the rest of the year that way.
Right. Yeah, I got a crazy cough that I'm still dealing with from COVID, but it's just been amplified with this new returning sickness. And I literally sitting here with a bunch of cough drops in front of me, just like, I can't be coughing during the show, man. But
Yeah, I know what you mean.
nonetheless, though, let's get into this week's episode.
So, Scott, it looks like you played Breath of the Wild this week.
Oh shoot,
I
a new game?
I have I when we were talking earlier, I had forgot to mention that when we had spoken about the sequel,
Mhm.
uh it absolutely made me want to go back and restart and start from the beginning of that game. So I already beat it before, but I'm one of those people like if a new season of a show comes out, I'll watch the previous season. So when a new game comes out, and especially one that I love, it's one that I thought was amazing, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna play that first one, and then just roll right into the sequel. So started that one a little bit, and as always, some Warzone, just because that seems to be the meat and potatoes of my week when I do finally get a chance to hop on here. But Breath of the Wild is slowly making its comeback.
Yeah, it was a very good game in my opinion. Honestly, it goes to show that Nintendo is just one of the kings of, first person, single player, just like primary, just a story game. Literally just beautifully written story games. And it was fun the whole way through.
Absolutely, absolutely loved it. The making your own food, the weapons break, and kind of add that little survival element to it, and yet still have all the fun, like the mind games with an actual Zelda game and the puzzles. It was excellent, and coming back to it, it's a fresh start again. Love it.
I'm
Yeah,
definitely excited for the next one.
I
Like
gotta
if
beat
this
it.
was Yeah, Breath of the Wild, honestly, man, is gonna be a lot of fucking hours. I honestly, I don't think you're up for it if you're not willing to play some of these other games that are like 20, 30, 40 hour games. You're
hmm
not gonna want to play Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can squeeze it in there, especially the fact that it's on the Switch and I can take that on the go and not just play here
Hmm.
at home. So I do have the ability to do that. Like I can
That's
and
exactly what I did. Yeah.
I can take it to work and play it on my lunch break and knock out 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how long my lunch break is for the day. So I just gotta maximize my time. Honestly, that's what it really comes down to.
I took that thing to Al-Udeid Air Base Qatar,
There
and I played it there. It was great.
you go. Yeah, definitely. I bought it. I remember buying it from Best Buy. It was on sale for like $20 or something like that. It was like some ridiculous ass sale. Like that game never goes on sale, especially for that low. And I was like, why not? I'll eventually play
Well,
it, right?
Nintendo games never go on
Right.
sale. Like, let's be honest
Yeah.
here.
Dude, they're still gonna get bought at full price.
Yeah. Not me. I was like, man, this is perfect because I received like the deals a day from like Best Buy, and I guess that was the deal of the day. So kind of just worked
Mhm.
out
Can't beat that.
for sure.
So Vic here, I see we've been playing Road 96. So you requested me to play it, but you're also playing it at the same time. So let's just take a few minutes. What do you think of the game?
Before we dive into it, appreciate the subscribe from Disney Princess over here. That's 2 months in a row. Appreciate the support. But Road 96, I'm really enjoying it. I know you're a little bit further than me just because you play in long spurts as opposed to me playing. I'm playing one chapter at a time. No matter how long it takes, as soon as I beat a chapter, I'm done. Done streaming for now, just so I can break it up and give me
Hmm.
time in between. But so far, I beat the first three chapters. I made it through my first run. I made it through the whole way. Second time, I got arrested. I made a dumb mistake. I was trying to rescue my friend, and I hopped out the car instead of staying in the car, and I got arrested. And I was like, well, I fucked up. And then the second
Okay.
one, I tried to hop. I lockpicked into the back of one of the trucks to try and escape over the border. And I got through the first part where you just had to hide behind the boxes and then like don't make any movement. And then I also survived the dog coming in to sniff for you. And I failed at the one where you climb underneath the truck and you gotta hold your breath.
Yeah,
I thought I
I
was gonna
failed
die
that
if I
today
held it
as
too
well.
long. I was like, what the fuck?
Well, your character will automatically try to breathe as soon as you run out of air. So, like, you got to just sit there and hold it right up to the edge, and you had to have full health to get through that.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't gonna be able
Yeah.
to then.
Yeah, I was missing 2 bars, and I was like, well, am I gonna lose here? And I did, and I was like, oh, I went to jail. Okay, I
Yep.
guess I just. And then like I didn't realize, but you can also just fucking die
Yeah.
like that. You could just die, and
Hmm.
the guy goes, "You made me angry, and you're not gonna like what happens next." And I was like, "What happens next?" And it cuts out from the car, and it just goes. I was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
dead.
dead." I didn't like that. You were right.
Yeah, I just really enjoy how interactive the entire game is. Like, just every decision you're making, the random like mini games that you can play for money, eating the random food that you find around the map, or even cassette tapes are fun because then when you're driving in cars or whatever, you can like put in like one of your cassette tapes that you found from a different
Mhm.
playthrough. So, that's cool. What is curious though is like I got the lock picking ability with like one of the other characters, but now like everybody after that knows how to lock pick. So that's like where I'm just like, that's not how that works, but sure.
I kind of like the idea that you slowly collect these power-ups and like each run you slowly get better and you can do more. But yeah, I can see how it's kind of like why am I doing this? And because it's all procedurally generated, the chapters really don't mean much at all.
Right.
They just
I
kind of a
mean, to
thing.
put it into perspective for those that are curious, like what the game's about, like you play as these teenagers trying to cross the border, just because like the government or country that they live in is like really bad, and they're trying to make change. So they're also trying to make sure like someone else gets voted into office, so these change can happen. But in the same sense, they're also trying to escape the country, because it almost seems like it's in America, but it's like a knockoff of America.
It feels like we're in like Venezuela or one of these like southern dictatorships
Hmm.
Ah,
and
Texas.
you're trying to like what
Texas.
Texas. Yeah, it does it do feel like that. It does feel kind of like, there are these people who are just clearly hard right, bad guy,
Hmm.
bad sort of trying to destroy the world. Like they're enslaving teenagers in iron mines
Yeah,
and like there's just this whole terrorist attack that happened years ago and
Yeah.
it just it's really interesting. I find it a fascinating game, but I think you're kind of thrown into it, so there's a lot that it could be added to it. Maybe the ending and the other chapters will kind of tie it all together for me, and
Hmm.
hopefully I get a an interesting ending.
Yeah, I'm hoping the same, man. The way it's going, I think that's how it's going to play out. Because right now it's kind of like, man, what's going on? And I think by the time you get to the end, you're like, oh, okay. Because like as I was playing, like, I was starting to piece in like, oh, okay, the brigade, they were the bad guys. They're the ones that did the terrorist attack. Well, what
Bad
happened?
guys.
Yeah, what happened at the terrorist attack? Well, damn, they rammed an explosive truck basically into the mountain, blew that shit up, and that shit just crumbled and like killed everybody in the city. And it's just, you're like, oh, damn, yeah, it's
Did
crazy.
they? And
Right.
and you're like, is this a false flag operation kind of thing, or what's going on here? Because it definitely the story seems fascinating the more you go through it because it slowly gives you more and more to do. And each ending is pretty much, completely open to you to figure out how to get there. And
Hmm.
like I don't think you're supposed to get 100% of the story every time. Like
Right.
I can clearly tell that I don't think the numbers are adding up. Like I'm not going to finish 100% of everyone's story possibly.
Right. Yeah. So interesting
well,
enough.
maybe that's part of it. Is it makes it all perspective driven.
Yeah,
Kind of
definitely.
kind of an added little bonus. Is it a bug or is it a feature?
Oh, let's see. Thank you for clearing that. I was trying to get it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just
Um,
saw that. I was like, hey.
dang,
yeah.
nice
So,
advertisement there, buddy.
yeah. But no, it definitely is an interesting game. But I also see here you've been playing Batman Arkham City as
Yeah,
well as
Batman.
your competitive shooters.
Yeah, yeah. Competitive shooters, that's another thing. But Batman Arkham City, really enjoying the game. I understand why it was a really great game for its time because that game came out in like what, like 12 or something like that. Like
Yeah, it
it's
was
a
that
pretty
or
old.
13 or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pretty old game at this point, so it's something I missed. But I know the trilogy was a really solid
It
trilogy.
holds up well.
Yeah, and honestly, it's holding up really well. Like all the mechanics are playing really well. Combat's really fun and fluent. Sometimes really difficult at times, but overall the story's really great. I'm almost done with it. I think I have like two more Batman levels left and two more Catwoman levels left. So once I'll be done with that one, and I can move on to my next game, which will be Dead Space, the remake, here at the end of the month when
Mm,
it releases. Really
mm,
Hmm.
excited.
mm. Love that.
Yeah,
Love that.
yeah, I'm really looking
Dead
forward to it.
Space was definitely a fun game. I enjoyed it. Something I never got to beat, but I might go back to it. Not sure if I wanna go back to it yet though.
You're gonna have some nightmares over there, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that shit is pretty fucking it's pretty spooky at times.
Yeah,
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 But
it gets you. You're like, you get creeped out. You just like,
yeah.
there's just yeah, it is pretty fucking good at spooking you.
Um,
thank you, Disney Princess, for the shared appreciation. Love that.
uh,
I'm working every day towards that thick fillet, trying to hit up that gym.
he's trying to get that dad bod. Is what he's working
I'm
on.
trying, yeah, trying to go from dad to bad. You know, I'm just
From
trying to get
bad to
over here.
bad.
Roger, let's talk about this interesting game that you kind of, I think, just picked up recently was the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels. What made you hop back into Yu-Gi-Oh?
So my friend started playing Yu-Gi-Oh instead of Magic recently just because they have cards and they've been playing for a long time. And like even all the shit that I own, you know, like all my cards from growing up, I they're still playable. So
Hmm.
like I just decided to pick up Yu-Gi-Oh again and play a little bit in addition to Magic because lately, as many might have been following with Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast and stuff, they're kind of really flubbing it when it comes to their IPs, like Dungeons and Dragons, for example. Uh they're rewriting their open gaming license now, used which allowed for people to pretty much create their own content in the systems of that tabletop RPG and then be able to sell those stories using that open game license of Dungeons and Dragons. Well, they're changing that. And then they're also doing a lot with Magic to try and really constrict and try to sell more product. They want to keep pushing more and more and more.
Right, yeah, for
So,
sure.
What was that quote from? It was the CEO from Wizards of the Coast talking about D&D and how it's like still this little niche thing, and they want to expand it. They're gonna ruin it. Is what I got from that. Is they want to ruin D&D. They want to make that as mainstream as possible, and that's just, oh god.
well, the thing is, that's what's wrong with corporation America is the fact that every time you turn around, we're trying to expand and get more money for shareholders. And well, Hasbro kind of they hit the end. So what do? You have to release more products a year, or you have to somehow sell more Dungeons and Dragons stuff a year. How do you do it? You know,
Hmm.
you have to keep getting more people to play your stuff. So I think the biggest issue I find is like Magic lately has kind of hit that point where like standard was already a lot of work to try to keep up with because
Yeah.
you're trying to buy what's in at any given moment, and so most people were going Pioneer and into playing Commander, and
Yeah.
so Yu-Gi-Oh is not like that. Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah, new stuff drops, but it's usually just reprints of older cards. That's all it is. So like the game itself is meant to be played really fucking fast, and like yeah, there are always new cards coming out. That's new support for old stuff, but like all your cards are almost always playable. So that's the fun part. So like I picked up Yu-Gi-Oh to try and get into the fact that I can go back and play with stuff that I own. Like I looked at the value of some of my old cards for Yu-Gi-Oh.
I did that too, and actually, it's funny you should mention that because this, although this is not a plug for Geek Squad, I did work for Geek Squad though. But in here is my original Yu-Gi-Oh deck from middle and high school.
Okay.
Like I still have that, and I loved. I played Master Duels for a bit, but like you said, it's fast. It's too fast. Um,
Yeah,
It's
it's
too
like
fast for
turn
me.
one. It's turn
It,
two meta. Like people are playing
exactly.
on their first turn. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, I have 8,000 damage monsters on the board, and you're like, can I clear it? No,
It's
game.
like all it is it's the 20 deck Duel Links again.
Yeah,
And it bugs me. But like with all that said, and I agree 100% with Disney Princess here, and that's kind of what I wanted to at least get out before we had wrapped that whole juicy garbage present about the D&D stuff. Is that no, I'm absolutely 100% for like I love when other people enjoy the stuff that I love.
Hmm.
But if it doesn't stay the stuff that I love, if it becomes garbage because it's like, don't worry about what you're putting out, just worry about putting something out. That's where I'm going to start having a problem. That's where I'm going to start like just being upset, and then
Hmm.
I'm going to end up being the old guy, being yeah, back in my day, D&D was
Yeah.
actually, like
Gonna be showing your
3E,
age.
5E, like it was all, it was all this and that, and then now it's just letting anybody in, which is great to let them play, but like if they ruin the content, that's what
yeah,
worried me the most about that
Hmm.
entire quote. It's like there it is, like the content is gonna get thrown into a blender. Like what can you push out the fastest that you can put out,
Hmm.
and that's gonna be it. So that's my biggest worry.
and
Love,
and
yeah, love people
and
playing.
that's the biggest thing about tabletop is like it's meant to be inclusive for everyone to be able to play, but the fact is like at the end of the day, you want to be able to still play the content. People like, why do people want to put in hours of their work if they can't like, if I'm going to put in 100 hours to write an adventure path in Dungeons and Dragons, I want to be able to sell it.
Right.
I want to be able to charge people, but now I can't because of the licensing. So, it's one of those things right now where Hasbro has kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, and that's why I started to go over to Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it's fun. And it's also cheaper, weirdly enough.
Which is so weird to me because even just walking through, like I still every time I go to Target, Walmart,
We're gonna stop in the
any
card
big
section.
box store, always
Always. Yep.
every single time I drag my girlfriend right over to that card section. She's like, "Are we done?" I'm like, "No,
Nope.
they have the Dragon Ball Z trading card game. Do you not know how awesome this is?" And she's like, "No, I don't."
Yeah.
I mean, and it's because it's not for lack of wanting to know. She just has no idea like when it comes to that
Hmm.
stuff. So when I'm looking at Magic the Gathering, I'm looking at Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm looking at all this stuff, and like it's great, but it's like seeing Yu-Gi-Oh end up being cheaper was just a little weird, even just by $1, like $1, $1.50. It's just weird.
Yeah,
Just because I was so mainstream for so long, and especially then when you had Duel Links, Master Duel,
yeah.
all that drop. Uh,
Um,
yeah.
but Roger, I see your other two games here. We're going to kill two birds with one stone here. Playing survival games recently. Obviously, we played Grounded earlier, and you also have been playing Valheim Mistlands. What's your take on the whole these two games right now with the survival games?
So I think survival games really have to find a niche right now that they kind of fit that no other survival game has done. I
Hmm.
really like Valheim because they've done something truly fun and fascinating, which was to take the Norse mythology and make a game about it where you're trying to survive. And
Hmm.
like at the end of the day, as I've said before, this is a game that they want to have an ending. Like this game will have a story, you play, you drop in, you have a Viking and you go through all the way to the very end where you fight a final boss. And that's it. You win the game. Grounded is also the same way. Like these survival games now, we've gone from just sandboxes to having a full-length story, having, character dialogue or even development maybe, and just it's not just you drop in like Minecraft and you just dig straight to the bottom of the world, grab some diamonds and just do whatever. It you have to progress naturally to get through the game, which is fun.
Right. Yeah.
And I think Grounded has a lot to offer. I think it's an interesting game, but I don't know like where it goes from here because the difficulty is a little silly how it scales. And
Yes.
Valheim does it as well, where the number of players in a zone or around an enemy increases its health. So it
Hmm.
it kind of gets to the point where you're sitting there for 5 minutes fighting one enemy, and it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I enjoy that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the whole difficulty, especially with grounded. I feel like every enemy is tough at all times, no matter what gear we have. Like it never gets to a point where like, okay, I've mastered this section, I can take these enemies on. Like they are a challenge all game long, no matter how far you are in the game. Like to me, that seems a bit weird.
See, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I kind of like when that happens a little bit, not to the extent to where it's
Mhm.
always difficult and always almost impossible, but like still keeping it up to scaled. I don't mind scaled bosses, scaled villains, things like that. Um, I don't want to be so overpowered that everything is just easy peasy.
Hmm.
Even if you have
Don't
all
you
the
like a
stuff, it's
natural
still like
progression though?
it.
If you have to go and say repair your sword, and you have to go kill a mosquito for that, do you really want that mosquito to be as tougher than it was when you first killed it to make this weapon? It gets to the point where I feel like I'm wasting more time trying to go back to collect stuff
To repair
than
stuff.
I am to move forward.
Right, because right now,
So
if I
yeah,
want to repair
and
my legs, I have to go kill another spider, and we know how hard it is to kill a goddamn spider. Like them shits are almost damn near impossible. So it's like we're stuck right now.
yeah, no, and I don't know. It's one of those things you have to be very very careful in how you execute. Like your main bosses, your main big baddies,
Right.
as I would generalize them. Then scaling your mobs, scaling things like that are supposed to be easier as you get time as you go past. Like that shouldn't be part of the issue. So I feel like maybe that needs to be not as scalable as maybe the big bad level 1, level 2, level 3 boss. Um, paraphrasing here, obviously, but like maybe your mobs. It's supposed to be easy. You got to go kill a spider. The spider should be a lot easier to kill
The second time around.
the second time around.
Yeah,
So
very much so. We're gonna close out our gaming section here. What we've been playing with Rogers, the last one here. I know you recently beat it. Spider-Man Miles Morales. Tell me about it. I have not played this game, so without spoiling it.
Well, a lot of critics said that it feels like a DLC to the original Spider-Man game, and I would agree. It just feels like so last year I beat Spider-Man and I also beat the 3 episode DLC, and it felt like the 3 episode DLC was as long as the Miles Morales game was.
Hmm.
I liked how Miles Morales played because I liked Miles's powers as Spider-Man more than I like original Spider-Man's powers
Hmm.
because Miles Morales has bioelectricity, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
So he has the ability to generate electricity in his body and discharge it in his attacks. So I thought it was a lot more action packed, a lot more fun to fight. Whereas original Spider-Man was more about gadgets and your knickknacks to get through different encounters.
Hmm.
Miles Morales was about being genuinely a superhero.
Okay. Gotcha. Oh,
And
yeah.
I thought
I'm looking forward
the
to checking it
story was
out.
fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the story was super fun. The game itself was super fun, and like it makes me super excited for the next game this year, as well as for to play
Wolverine.
Wolverine as
Yep.
well, which has me super excited.
Hmm. Yeah, Insomniac does a really solid job with pretty much all their games, to be honest. I mean, even when they were not bought out by PlayStation, when they made Sunset Overdrive for Xbox, when they made that exclusive, like that game is really what set the foundation of the traversal of a world for the Spider-Man games. Like if you ever played Sunset Overdrive, you're basically doing everything Spider-Man does,
Hmm.
and then some. And it kind of just translates really well into Spider-Man 1 and 2. Um, so yeah, it definitely makes sense for sure. But let's move on to our next section of the show. We got our game releases.
So, this week we actually don't have too much in the way of brand new game releases. We do have one on Friday though. The
Hmm.
most like important game I think our viewers are going to be interested in is the new Fire Emblem game drops on Friday, which is
Hmm.
Fire Emblem Engage that drops for the Switch on the 20th. So this is a new Fire Emblem game that takes place across all the different Fire Emblem franchises and all the different core games, and maybe even some of the side games. where your characters get essentially wedding bands, I guess is the best way to put it. They get wedding bands that allow them to essentially link to ancient heroes in the Fire Emblem franchise. So, like,
Hmm.
you may be able to engage with Marth, or you may be able to pull in the main character from Fire Emblem, Byleth from the last one, or any one of the number of the characters that have existed in the game. You can kind of get their rings to get the powers that they have.
Hmm.
So instead of linking up with the allies that are on the board, you build your characters by linking with characters that have come from previous Fire Emblem games.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like that big father-son Kamehameha that Gohan did to Cell on
Yeah,
the end of the Cell
that,
saga.
that
It's the
you
same
you
thing.
jest
You're
like you
pulling it
jest
right in.
that is exactly it.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
is the ability to channel previous heroes. Like on the cover, I believe it's Marth is on the cover of Fire Emblem Engage, as well as a few other older characters.
Roy
This
or
is slightly off topic, but crazy thing is we just received an email from the App Store, Apple's App Store. It says you have to try Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Makes me wonder that motherfucker's just sitting here listening to the podcast too.
this thing. Tell them if they're gonna listen, they might as well get in here and actually get in chat and
Right.
Give us the view.
talk with it. Give the view. If they're gonna listen and just start, spitting out master duels.
But yeah.
But other than
yeah, go ahead.
that, we don't have much else coming out this week. We have some sort of off-brand racing games like Gigantosaurus, Dino Kart, A Space for the Unbound is a game as well. This looks like this is coming to all consoles on Thursday, and it's by Togi Productions, which is an adventure game. Um, then we have as well as Colossal Cave, which looks interesting. Just from the cover art alone, this game looks real weird. Like it looks like a
Yeah.
90s, early 2000s RPG.
Yeah.
The way it looks, dude.
You got a
Like
pirate,
the
a
shit
dragon, a bear with like a golden necklace, and then like
It's
a pig man with horns.
like looking
it's
at the graphics.
Yeah, the graphics.
it's like they
are
ripped their cover straight out of Big Game Hunter.
nice.
Uh, and, and just looking at it and be like, no way, I've seen this at Bass Pro. I've seen this at Bass Pro Shop. It's the same bear, I promise.
And so in addition to some of these other games that are coming out, the big ones to also take away is Persona 4 Golden is being released on some older consoles on Thursday. That includes the Xbox X and S, PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch. So if you've never played a Persona game, this is one of those core Persona games that it's also the Persona 4 Golden Edition, which is like the complete edition for the game. So if you've never played a Persona game, this is your chance to do so.
And it's also coming to Game Pass day one
Yep.
when it releases to these other platforms.
Now, don't mind the fact that this is an 11-year-old game.
Right.
It
It holds
is
up really well.
definitely
Apparently.
Yeah, it definitely holds up well. It's a game like I played Persona 5 and I thought about going back to Persona 4, and I may one of these days here soon do it for a stream, but if you've never played a true JRPG, this is something I would give a look at. Like
Yeah.
this is a visual novel mashed with like your classic Final Fantasy style fighting game. And then we also have Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3 Portable, which is the fighting game, I believe, for Persona 3. And that comes out this Thursday as well for X and S, 4, 1, Switch, and the PC.
It's just an
So,
RPG. It's not a fighting one. It's just the one from
no,
the original release was on
yeah,
the PSP. I think is what it was released on.
yeah, I believe, yes. This one's for
Apparently,
the
this is the most
PSP here.
iconic one of the series, and this is the one I want to check out
Mhm.
and give it a go. I've never played any of the Persona games, but I do know Persona 5 was one of the greatest games ever made. So, according to the critics,
Yeah, it is a very good game. Like Persona has always been known for releasing really good games.
yeah.
Alrighty. And then that is all the game releases we had for this week, other than Monster Hunter Rise. I did forget about that one.
You can't forget about that one, man.
Monster Hunter Rise does hit the rest of the console. So this originally released 2 years ago on the Switch.
Mhm.
It is now coming to PS5, Xbox X and S, PS4, and Xbox One. So if you didn't get a chance to play Monster Hunter Rise, this is now your chance to get in on the series on all the other consoles. Hopefully, it runs better as well than
Mhm.
it did on the Switch because this is a demanding game.
For
I
sure.
think it will.
And
I
it's
think it's gonna with the hardware that PlayStation, Xbox X and S, even Xbox One have over the Switch. I think it's gonna be. I think it'll end up being a lot smoother.
and this
Mm,
also comes to Game Pass day one as well. So we
Yes,
got a lot
sir.
of JRPGs coming to the Game Pass day one this month.
Game Pass really do be stepping it up. Like,
I
This is
mean,
going to be the
it's
year.
been this good for a while.
Yeah, and
Like,
it's only
yeah,
going to
that's
get
a
better.
crazy thing.
Whenever they can start releasing their actual first party games finally, opening those floodgates, like it's going to be over. But Scott, which one of these games are you most excited for?
so it's not excited to play, but
Hmm.
it's excited for other people to finally be able to play, and that's got to go to Monster Hunter Rise.
Okay.
Fire Emblem, they're great games, but I if I can find time, I mean, as speaking with you guys before and after shows and things like that, time's been one thing that like for some reason I just can't find. Um, so I can't. I've been wanting to play Blacktail since it released like last month, and I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and play it. But I am excited to see Monster Hunter Rise come to a new market, new players. They get a chance to where they can play the game where they didn't have to go. They don't have to go buy a Switch to play the game. They just get to play it on what they got, and they get to enjoy it that way, which will also be much more comfortable for them because they don't have to learn a new controller. They don't have to learn a new system. They get their system, their controller, and Monster Hunter. So I am pretty hyped for that to see how that goes when they do drop that on Friday.
For sure. And what about you, Roger? Which one are you most excited for? Is it going to be Fire Emblem?
Yeah, it's gonna
I
be
figured.
Fire Emblem. Real talk here. I'm gonna go grab it Friday as soon as my shift ends for work. I'm just gonna go run out and grab that, grab some dinner, and come home and play that all night.
Right. And as for me, I was gonna say Persona 3, but the fact that there's something we're gonna cover later on about it. But Persona 4, I think would be the one that I'm most anticipated for. This may be a way for me to get into this franchise since I have not played it yet. So, and then that means 3, 4, and 5 will all be on Game Pass. So it gives me a chance to
Yeah.
hop in, and like apparently none of the stories are like connected for real. So like you can
No.
hop in at any point as well, which is always
Hmm.
my biggest issue. Like Mass Effect, I couldn't hop
It's
into Mass Effect 3 without playing 1 and 2.
each
Like it would
each
feel
one
weird.
of them only share a core concept, and that is the supporting cast who kind of is around to help. Depending on the game, the supporting cast is the same.
Hmm.
Whereas the main characters themselves are always a brand new story, and it's always a fully flushed out, completely different story, and it's really well done. And the thing is, as somebody who plays visual novels, don't shirk on like actually exploring the backlog of other characters and don't squander your time. That's all I can say. In
Okay.
Persona, time is everything. You cannot do everything in the game unless you plan out the game before you play. R- You really take seriously what you decide to spend your time doing because the game has it has an actual timeline, and every time you do an action, you use time.
Okay.
And so eventually you'll come to the point where you have to do a story mission, and if you can't, that's it. That's it. Like
That's gonna be interesting.
you have to actually really
Like that
think
though.
about what you do.
Yeah. Um, let's move on to our next segment of the show. We got some industry news. So Roger, if you want to go ahead and kick it off for us.
Yeah, so Steam just hit a milestone this week. A new record as 10 million players were concurrently logged in playing a game on Steam this week. And that totals into their over 32 million online users. These are just people who are logged into Steam, period.
Yeah, that's
Not just
crazy.
playing a game, but logged in.
Yeah, I mean that shit's insane. And just showing
That's
you how large the PC market really is. 32
It
million users.
is.
That's more PS5s. That's more
Yeah,
than
that's
any PS5 out there.
it's massive, but that daily that active user count is huge, and I love that for them.
Yeah, it's only up from here for Steam. Honestly, Steam's on a pretty good path. Now they just got to come out with a new game. You know, maybe a sequel to one of their beloved IPs.
Why? They make too much money just selling other people's games.
Yeah,
Why make your own
I
when I can just
know,
sell
but
yours?
I know,
And
but
I'm not gonna say that we did that for them, but we really did hype up
Yeah,
that
that
Steam
yeah.
Deck.
yeah, I mean, the Steam Deck's pretty solid, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's definitely a super interesting and fascinating console.
And on to some maybe not so great news here, especially with the hype train that CD Projekt Red has had over the past couple of months. They finally settled a class action lawsuit over Cyberpunk 2077, and they settled for 1.85 million. And this is really just going towards investors that sued over the rocky launch, which kind of makes sense. The game was pulled from the PlayStation Marketplace. The game wasn't really playable on a lot of
They
the stable
had to give
consoles.
full refunds to everyone in PlayStation 4 on the PlayStation 4.
Right, so it makes sense. And honestly, 1.85 mil for CD Projekt Red is just some chump change, if you want to be honest with you.
but it still
It's
sets the
nothing.
precedent. God, it makes me so mad. So, how many PlayStation users were begging and begging, give us our game now, give us our game, give us our game, give us our game, give us our game, and then they got their game, they're like, I can't play this.
Yep.
Fucking whiny bitches, dude.
Right.
God, it upsets me, and I hate to see what happened with this Cyberpunk 2077 release. And
Like
to
it
see
played
that it's
really
all-
well on most
like,
consoles. It's just the PS4 it was unplayable. And
too many
like
people wanted next gen games on
Old
last gen
yeah.
like
yes.
consoles, and that's what it is. Like this still upsets me to my core because it was nothing more than and I hate to oversimplify because that's exactly what I'm gonna end up doing. It's just a bunch of whiny people. We want our game. We want our game. We want our game. You need to make it right now.
Why
You
is the
need to
game
drop
not
it right
playing
now.
well?
Right.
Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? Give me my game. Give me my game. Give me my game. And then, the game's not playable. That's like, hey,
You
I
wonder
ordered a steak.
why. Yeah.
I ordered a steak 5 minutes ago. Where's it at? Well, you ordered it well done. Well, I want it now. Well, you ordered it well done, so it's going to take a little bit more time. Well, I want it now. And then they get it, and they're like, why is the steak bloody?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
God.
Yep.
Damned if you
and
do,
yeah,
damned if
Perfect
you don't.
analogy.
1.85 is chump change, but the fact that they have to pay it now because of that
Yeah.
is just
Now-
it's upsetting because now people are just going to be able to sue over shit that they don't like.
Well,
More or less.
and the other thing that we also have to take from this is the fact that we're seeing the ability to sue over games and movies now that are overhyped. Things that
Misleading.
we're taking people's
Misleading.
yes.
Misleading, yes, but this was not
Exactly.
misleading.
Right.
No,
This
and I
was, hey,
agree.
we need more time. We need more time to give you the game that
But, yeah.
we think you deserve. And they're like, we don't care what you think. We want our game. Now,
Yeah.
misleading trailers, misleading things like that. I mean, still,
Yeah.
it's pretty.
Yeah.
pretty
The
It's a gray
fact
area.
that the investors are the ones who get this money, though, because these are the
They lost out on
people
money.
who won't.
the
Yeah.
people that lost their
But,
money.
but at the
Yeah.
same time, they're the ones who are like, get this game out now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like
it's definitely a really interesting situation. This class action lawsuit was filed back in 2020, so right around the same time that the game released.
dropped.
Yeah. So like this wasn't something that came out of nowhere. They just finally settled it 2 years later.
Yeah, and it's like we had talked a while back when it first dropped. Like it wasn't unplayable if you
Right.
had the hardware to play it. The
hardware to
hardware
play,
was intended to play on.
Yep. I had no
So
issues on the
that's-
Series X, so
That's just a sore subject for me. Just watching Project Red get just railed like that.
yeah.
For giving the people what they wanted.
It's only going to get better for CD Projekt Red, though. They have
Oh,
so
yeah,
much
for
going
sure.
for them. Phantom Liberty DLC about to drop for Cyberpunk, and then all the Witcher stuff that's going to be coming out over the next 10-year, basically.
And
period.
new IP that they
yeah,
haven't
new
even.
IP. Yeah, I'm
so-
really excited for them, honestly, and they learned. Honestly, they couldn't be perfect. This had to be their one unfortunate, really bad fuck up, but they learned from it, and they're on a redemption arc right now. Honestly, like me and you, Roger, both talked about when Phantom Liberty drops. We plan to go back and play that, and I never say that about playing a DLC. Never.
Yeah, I'm like I honestly I love Cyberpunk. It was such a fun game, and I think I'm gonna start a new character just to go play that.
Can't beat that because there was.
On shaved head side swipe, extra big penis instead of playing somebody that was actually close to me.
But on to our next part of our industry news here. Microsoft, in regards to the Halo franchise, Paramount Plus has started production on season 2 of the Halo show, and I have not personally watched it, and pretty much don't really
Not gonna
want to
watch it.
because it's not canon, and everything they have done in the show was against everything that I enjoy about Halo. Not seeing
I'm
Master
gonna
Chief's
I'm gonna
helmet.
keep Master Chief's face just it's a mystery, and that's what I want it to
Yeah.
be.
Like Master Chief's helmet and then like him having like a sex and love life, like that's weird. Like he's a soldier, like a fucking clone trooper basically, and he's just like one
Dude
minded.
literally is dude was taken from his home and trained as a super soldier since like his youth, 5 years
Like
old.
he was like 7 or 8, I
Yeah.
think, in the books. I forget exactly.
Yeah.
He was
If
single,
they're even canon anymore.
Yeah.
but and here's going to open up a whole can of worms. Is let me go ahead and get this can and open it. Pop. Here's what happens when you don't pay attention to what actually happens in the games, books, etc., etc.
You just hand it some random
R.I.P.
dude.
my boy
Yeah.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Uh, it was watchable, but like you had to sit there and be like, your whole idea of
It's
what it
made
could
for
have been,
people
should
who
have been.
aren't it's made for the non-fans. That's the
It's
idea.
yeah, it was made to, I guess, bring that wider viewership in. Like when it for the very first episode in the opening, I was like, this is great. I was like, this can be awesome. Like the Covenant's in there, just absolutely murking everybody. This whole thing, and then they drop the Spartans, and like people are like, oh, I don't know how I feel because we also don't like these guys, but maybe. So it added that little bit of like kind of drama around like the whole deal where it's like they're the heroes but they're the heroes for people that hate them, yada yada yada. And once you start getting past that and you start seeing John and you start going into like not
It would
that
have been better if they didn't look at our boy. Like if John wasn't included in this and it was a different group of Spartans.
exactly, if this had been like a knockoff No Name Spartans like group, like squad, probably would have been awesome. But they brought our boy
Because
in.
then you could even make
they
it
had to bring
lore. You could make
Yes.
it canon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once they started getting in, not that things shouldn't be emotional, not that things shouldn't have these other like influences, or make it more robust for viewership. But like, don't, I mean, when you take an entire franchise that was built around Spartan 117, John, going through everything like that, and then you make it into this, like you just deconstruct the whole character
Yeah.
instead of just being Spartan 117,
Yeah.
John, who's there to do his thing,
Right.
and you made it just this unnecessarily huge emotional, like drama filled bubble, which was totally just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it was absolutely unnecessary. You didn't pay a bit attention to what Halo was, how it was written, even the books, and don't try to tell me that you did.
And honestly, you could have just made the game or the movie and not show his face, so therefore you could have just used the voice actor from the games, continue to use his voice because his voice is really, really, really iconic. And
And it's
then,
distinct.
and they already had Cortana's voice in it, the same
Look
exact
what
Cortana
happens
voice.
when Marvel does the same thing. Marvel's like, we're gonna just choose different voice actors, different people.
Yeah, and then you feel completely disconnected from them because you're like, I have this foundation, this connection to these characters that I've been watching and playing and whatever it is for 10 plus years, and then you're just like, we're gonna change it. Has no
So-
correlation to it. And I'm like, who's this guy?
Yeah, and so
Marvel get away with it because Marvel's not on a pilot freaking season,
yeah, exactly.
trying to get your core people that loved Halo, and then now your new people that just wanted a new show to watch and thought this might have been cool. Like, Yeah.
Your sci-fi gurus, honestly. But moving on here to our next topic, Roger, if you want to go ahead and cover this, this is pretty quick, interesting stats that came out for digital versus physical sales.
So we had a consumer report from the UK last year that told us that 90% of all games sold in the UK were actually digital last year. This comes after we also got our stats from Nintendo and Japan on their sales for Switch games.
Hmm.
Like the digital market is huge. As much as we complain about it being here and the posterity of these games and these markets that are closing left and right, like we look at Ubisoft closing their servers and things like that. 90% of all games are still just digital.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that was a pretty interesting stat because it made me wonder because like you guys can see behind me, I have a ton of fucking games and physical copies, and I stopped buying physical copies myself too. Like I was really one of those guys like I have to buy the physical copy because I want to collect them. But since the new generation came out, the Series X, I have yet to buy a physical game. All of my games have been digital if I bought them, but most of my games are on Game Pass. Luckily, so I don't gotta really worry about buying them. But even me, who was a huge physical copy, stop buying them as well because it's more convenient. I can just switch back and forth between games like that. Otherwise, I have to get up, go over it, open the thing, make sure I put it back in the right box or throw it around, and then you're risking damaging the game. Like no, let me just switch the games back and forth on digital.
It's convenient. That's all.
Yeah,
It's convenient, but I think I'm gonna play devil's advocate again. We're still paying the same price, and we still can't physically hold the game that we just bought.
pretty much.
Mhm.
And the servers go
Yeah.
offline, then you can't play the game anyway.
And if it's for the sake of going green, if it's for the sake of less waste and stuff like that, then charge less money. Because even now, digitally, we're not getting complete games. You wonder why they stopped doing that? Because when it was on a disc, it was a complete fucking game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's
If you
convenient.
wanted to package an
Still,
update, you
yeah.
had to package a whole new game, and they did that. They did actually push out like patches to your games. It was very rare, but it had happened in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah,
Guess I'm just getting old, man.
we're
Yeah,
showing our
that's what
age
it feels like.
for
But
sure.
Vic,
Yeah,
tell
I'm
us
showing
about
my age.
console sales last year.
Yeah, man. Obviously, this is big, exciting news for Xbox because the Xbox Series S and X sales grew in Europe while the other platforms actually went down. Xbox was up 4.4% over from 2022 over the from 2021. PlayStation 5 was down 35%, and Nintendo Switch was down 15%. These numbers do not include Germany or the UK. They have not released their numbers yet, but out of all this, even though Xbox had the only positive year, Xbox is still third in total units sold, and it just goes to show that how large the fan base, the player base is for the other two, PlayStation and Nintendo. But it's cool to see Xbox is trying to make a comeback and be able to compete for console wise.
You have games on PC though. So like at
Right.
the end of the day, Microsoft doesn't need to sell the console. They've got you on PC too.
Well, now that they don't really care where you play, they want you on PC,
Yeah.
mobile, Xbox.
hmm
I mean, fuck, we're gonna have the shit built into the
It's
TV
just a
here soon
cheap way.
too. Like,
Yeah.
you play however you want to play. Like, that's where their mindset at. They don't care about console sales anymore. It's all about
Yeah.
that Game Pass subscription, that Game Pass
Yeah,
Ultimate
absolutely.
subscription.
And that's where they're gonna make the biggest part of the money. At this point, give it 2 years, maybe at most, and we won't even be talking about Xbox. We'll be talking about Microsoft games,
Microsoft Gaming.
like in Microsoft Gaming, because they've made everything so compatible with everything else that it's at this point, like you said, why they don't care what if you're playing it on a console. They just care that you're playing their games. You're on their Game Pass. You're on something that
You're
is
paying them a
accessible,
monthly fee.
that you
Right.
are paying them. And the subscription is really where you're gonna make your money.
And to put it
I
in
mean,
another perspective too, we talked about it before the end of the year that the iPhones will now have to allow third-party stores, so Microsoft can just throw their store onto the iPhone. If you want to buy an Xbox game on your phone, there's another
huge,
avenue. I think it's going to be crazy.
huge. There it is. Yep.
I mean, obviously it's going to be the same for PlayStation and hopefully Nintendo as well, just so there's a competition going on. But yeah, nonetheless, man, that's interesting numbers there. But moving on
Let's
to our meat
move
of our
on to
topic.
gaming news.
Yeah, man.
So, Lost Ark did something really weird this week. They started banning accounts, like Steam accounts, in their game servers that just were inactive. I not sure why. They just started cleaning house and they're like, well, if you haven't played the game in X amount of time, your account's banned. So I guess you paid for the game, but now you can never play it just because you were inactive.
Yeah, don't know what really went on there. What was going on in their heads? Like you had said, the game's bought and paid for.
Yeah,
Being inactive, that's not a reason to ban. I mean, maybe it's just a really hard hammer that they're trying to put down on somebody that might have a stale account, and say somebody steals that stale account, comes in and jacks around, I guess. But like that's the only plausible thing I could make up, and
but
even
it's a
then,
dead game
that's
as
so
well.
that's so
Like
Fair
tiny.
enough, too.
Yeah,
is it
like
something like are we looking at, they're getting ready for the next game? Are we gonna get a new game? Are we, this is a game that just like
if
it was
that's how
just
they
such
get
a
ready
small
for a
thing.
next game, then like I
That's
don't
a
I don't
pretty
want to play
shitty
it.
way of doing it. Yeah.
That's a really
Yeah.
fucked up way to try to prep people for a new game. Is they're gonna ban everybody from the first one?
The only way I can
Like,
think of it is like it's a scare tactic. Like, hey, if you don't play the game soon, buddy, that's it. You ain't gonna be able to play it again. You have to set up
Yeah,
another
we're
account
gonna
and buy it
ban your
again.
account and then you have to buy it. Oh.
and Roger, you might understand this a little bit. Like, sometimes you have accounts you have to log into every 30 days to make sure they don't go away.
Yeah.
Uh,
But they gave no notice.
maybe, but like,
Right, that
well,
is the
maybe
crazy part.
maybe they gave the notice and these guys just didn't know because they were
Maybe.
logged out the whole goddamn time. I don't
Or
know.
they
Yeah,
should have probably sent emails and nobody said anything about it. It was a
yeah.
weird thing to happen.
It's such an odd thing to do. Like it just still sticks out as one of like the oddest things I think we've had to discuss on here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mind
Like
blowing.
So
outrageous.
next up here we have Meta. Meta is ending support for the original Quest VR system. They will still give bugs and security fixes up and through 2024. So up to the end of next year, you'll still get bug and security fixes on your Meta on your Quest VR headset, but you won't be able to access social features anymore on the Quest after March 5th of this year. So that means if you were using the Quest system and playing with your friends, you can't play with them after March 5th. You will no longer be able to access the the social features to get connected to your friends.
I'm just really confused why they're gonna end support. I know like the Quest 3 is gonna be on its way here soon, and obviously they announced the Quest Pro. Um, but it's like these people spend hundreds of dollars on this VR headset. The VR space right now isn't that big, so now you're cutting off another fucking part of the player base, and it's really mind blowing. Is that the Quest 1 or is that the Quest 2?
The Quest one.
Yeah, so no longer it's gonna be. You're gonna have to like, what are you gonna do with it? Like, even when you
I
want to
just
resell
plug
it,
in the
it
PC and play it like I've been playing. Like fuck them.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
I've
all
never even
planned
used it.
obsolescence. It's just planned
Yeah.
obsolescence to make somebody buy the next one, spend their next $700.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what iPhone
Honestly,
does, but like they wait like 6 generations before they do that.
well, this thing's what now 5, 6 years old, so it's on its way out. But it did surprise me to see it. But I was like, actually, I'm surprised it made it this long. Actually,
Right.
that's really what I thought.
When this
But
news broke too, the real question is when does Quest 2 end its support? People are
yeah,
worried about that
that's the
ending
thing
really
that
soon.
bothers me. Yeah, because like this is the first time they've ended the VR headset support. So when are we gonna see the newer one that literally only just came out last year?
Right.
Yeah, and I
Like
think maybe this is gonna set the window. Maybe it's
maybe.
gonna be, hey, you got this. 5 years later, guess what? You're moving on.
Yeah.
Still think that's pretty dirty, and as
It
per
it
you and
honestly
my
doesn't feel
conversation,
that
yeah.
bad though, because the VR community is huge. They'll keep these things going for as long as they're still usable. You're just not going to be able to get mainline support. It breaks, that's it. You're not going to be able to get reusable parts most likely, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if you have a PC, all you have to do is jump onto Bluetooth or on your wireless network, and boom, you don't even use the social features in it anymore. You use Steam VR, or you use Quest the Quest Pro system on the PC. Like,
Yeah,
so
there's
I
ways
don't
around
think
it
it's that crazy. It's just an interesting thing that we've finally seen the end of life for it.
for sure. Roger, if you want to go ahead and give us the PlayStation news, some interesting stuff
Yeah.
going on right now.
So PlayStation decided for the January catalog for PlayStation Plus, they're going to be giving away Back for Blood, Dragon Ball Z Fighter Z, Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, Life is Strange Beyond the Storm, and Life is Strange. I'm not sure if that is the remaster or not. We have Jet: The Far Shore, Just Cause 4 Reloaded, Omno, and Erica. That also includes three new PS Premium Classic titles that will be joining their catalog, which is
Siphon.
Symphon Filter
Life
3,
filter,
Siphon.
baby.
Siphon.
Siphon Filter 3, Star
Excited.
Wars
Cult classic.
Demolition,
Star Wars Demolition. That was one of my favorite games to play on the
and
PS1.
then Hot Shot Golf 2.
Yay.
Now, did I hear you say cult classic on Siphon Filter?
Yeah. You don't think it's a cult classic?
Consider me part of the cult, man. I don't know what you want to do. I loved so when I was a kid. I mean, my stepdad was really big on the PlayStation, and Siphon Filter was that game. I'm telling you, I loved that game.
Mm-hmm.
So fun. Seeing that come out again is gonna be. Seeing Siphon Filter 3 come out again is gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah,
I've
cult
never
classic.
played this game.
It's like your knockoff Metal Gear.
Yeah, it looks like
Looks
a
like
combination of like Metal Gear and like Splinter Cell, like combination.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Splinter Cell came years after, which
Mhm.
also deserves a remake. If
Mhm.
anybie is listening, I hope
they're-
you get an email about that one.
They are remaking Splinter Cell, the first one.
So between that and then Legend of Dragoon, but Siphon Filter, I loved that game. That game is very near and dear to my heart, and seeing that come out again and just still stick around is just warm and fuzzy.
You definitely just
I'm
unlocked a memory with Legend of Dragoon.
Oh yeah, so
Dude,
good.
I'm over here looking at Star Wars Demolition though.
Dude,
I
Star
forgot
Wars
all
Demolition
about
was
this game.
so fucking fun, dude.
I forgot all about this game.
Like literally, I'm sitting
That
on two Star Wars games from the PS1 time frame.
Those aren't digital.
And they're not digital, no. I got like obviously the OG Phantom Menace and then the Power Battles, and
I'm in here with PlayStation
Everyone
CDs.
watching,
Yeah.
this is what they want to take from us. This is what they want to take from us with taking away physical copies. That's what they want to take away from us.
Yep.
And shaking.
Yeah, all I gotta do is add Demolition to my collection here. I also got Pod Racer over there too for the N64. Like that was so much fun. Like Star Wars
Such a good-
games from
such a
that
fun
time,
game.
like that time frame was just like amazing for Star Wars games.
Honestly, there were just so many games, period. Like, PlayStation had so many good things. Like, the Jade Cocoon series.
Oh, another memory, Jesus.
Jade Cocoon was like it, dude. Like, Jade Cocoon 2 was one of my
Yeah.
favorite games ever played, and that was on the PS2.
PS2, yeah.
Parasite Eve. Do you guys remember that
Uh,
one?
Parasite Eve.
Parasite
like,
Eve.
that game sounds so familiar.
Yeah. Still to this day though, Jet Moto.
It's a Squaresoft game, so of course it's going to be a good game. Like, classic Squaresoft
It was
game.
it was great. Jet Moto was a huge one. I loved that game. Man, but now I gotta get an emulator. I gotta play Siphon Filter.
Dude, I was on my
I-
PS5 playing Ape Escape the other day. Like, the classics, dude.
I love that game. But let's
Only
let's talk about the premium and extra game catalog update for January though. One game I highly recommend for those who haven't checked it out yet is Omno. My playthrough of that is on our the Chill Zone's YouTube channel as well. So if you don't want to play it, you can go check that out. It's like 3 hours long to beat it. It's very simple puzzles, but I love the art style behind it, and it's just really fun. But Roger, I know you beat the Life is Strange series.
I only beat the first game, but yes.
Okay, I thought you ended up beating all the other ones too, but yeah, I haven't played Life is Strange any of them, and I do want to check them out. Those are
Yeah,
always
I'm interested to see if it's the remastered because I actually heard horrible things about the remaster. So I'm hoping they added the original to the catalog and not the remastered.
remaster, yeah. And then Back for Blood scene I added. That's awesome. That's a game that I stopped playing because I realized I was missing out on so much by playing it solo. So that's a game that I want to make sure I revisit sometime this year and then play through all of the story DLC they kept adding, because they've added like 3 DLCs to it already as well. But
And
Roger,
then there's also Erica as well,
yeah,
which is like a thriller movie video game.
yeah, I've never even heard of it, but yeah, looks pretty solid. Looks like it came out just a couple years ago, August 17th, 2019 for
It's just one of
PS4.
those hyper realism games where everything is a recorded like feature length or feature film style recording of actors acting out scenes. So like it's not just like CGI, it is real people acting. So you get to make decisions and then you watch movies
Oh, okay.
with real actors.
I don't know if you guys ever played Quantum Break on the Xbox, but that game, like the decisions that you make in the game at the end of like certain missions, a like episode of a TV show of the TV show would play. It's not like a real life TV show. Like you can't go to Netflix and watch it. Like it's only part of the game, and there's like real
Yeah.
life actors. Like it's just playing out like you're watching a show, and you're like, oh shit, like, and it just the characters look exactly the same in the game as well. So it just like flows amazingly, and I highly recommend checking out that game as well. But
All right.
what about the other news in
Last
PlayStation?
thing. So PS5 is getting its big 7.0 update. So this will finally include the full Discord client. This is the full feature length Discord just like we have on the Xbox.
Mhm.
It will also have the ability to stream PS5 games over the cloud. So now you'll be able to play many of the digital catalogs just remotely, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
finally
This is
playing catch
scheduled
up.
to drop March this year on the 8th of March, and the beta is coming soon, but won't include the Discord integration yet. So you'll be able to get on top of this and see the streaming, but not the Discord features.
You know what still blows my mind that PlayStation signed like a partnership deal with
Hmm.
Discord, but
And
Xbox
it
got it
happened later.
first. Yeah, Xbox got it first, and then PlayStation is finally getting it, and then like the whole PS5 plan like streaming them over the cloud. Like
I
again,
wouldn't
it's a
be surprised if Discord, if Microsoft was doing a lot of the work for Discord, whereas Discord was doing the work for PlayStation.
yeah,
It
possibly.
would not surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously, if Xbox owns Microsoft, they already had that connection with Discord on the PC, and and it runs a similar architecture anyway. So it was probably
Yep.
really easy to transition it over to the console. But interest
Yeah,
like
and like he
Xbox
said,
is
it was
so
like
ahead of the game. I feel like right now, PlayStation's
oh
adding all these features that Xbox already has. But hey, it's cool. This is an awesome way to be able to play games wherever you are. Because I utilize the cloud streaming games. Used to do it at work all the time.
And that's why he got fired.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
moving on here, Vic, tell us about
Mic
EA.
drop.
What's going on with EA?
Just some Madden news and honestly some positivity here. They are removing the CPR celebration following the whole issue that Damar Hamlin had, due to his real life emergency on the field. He had that cardiac arrest, and they had to perform CPR for 9 minutes on the field. So they felt like it's probably a little sensitive to have that in the game right now. So they went in, removed it. No longer can perform CPR on your teammates for to celebrate. So that's pretty cool. I
well,
guess that they're removing.
that was a whole fiasco as a Steelers fan. Wow. Uh, when they did that their first game, I was like, you've got to be shitting me. Uh,
Somebody's already gonna die.
it's it was absurd. To see that removed from like a game, I mean, maybe,
Yeah.
but I mean, sometimes as terrible as this sounds, like that, I mean, sometimes things happen. But it's okay. They're getting rid of it. I mean, the CPR celebration is kind of meh anyway. There's so many better ones.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. And then next up here, Maverick Games, which is a new studio formed from several of the Forza Horizon developers, who are leaving Playground Games to form this new studio. And that also includes the creative director Mike Brown. The development team is at work on a premium open world game for console and PC, and already has secured a significant seed of funding. And the reason for leaving is like they realized all the work that they were putting into like Forza and the world that they could build in Forza for a racing game. They're like, we want to make an open world like action game, like role playing game, and that's what we want to do. Even though like they have Fable in the works, but it may not have been the idea that they wanted to work. And I think it was like 7 of them left Playground Games to form this. So like they're able to just get their idea and be a little bit more creative, and I don't see nothing wrong with this. I think
So
this is going to be,
there's
yeah, it's going to be something pretty big, in the gaming community. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to checking out what they have here because
I
Playground
think,
Games never misses, has never
and
missed.
yeah, and I think seeing what they've done so far with Forza, and then giving them an opportunity to go to expand far beyond that.
Hmm.
I mean, the Forza world that they had created was already really great to begin with. So giving them something that where they can just run with it and play with it and use their creative minds and give us something that is going to be what they want, what they're passionate about.
Hmm.
I think I'm thinking we could be looking at a nice big open world here.
Yeah.
yeah. The fact that they use the word premium makes me question, are we looking at an MMO or are we looking
Yeah.
at like a single player experience? But
Right.
Vic, we're running out a little bit of time here, so why don't we move on here to Xbox?
Yeah, Xbox.
What's their big news?
Yeah, man, I'm really excited for this. They'll be hosting a Xbox and Bethesda Developer Direct showcase. That'll be live on January 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll run about 45 minutes long. The confirmed games that are going to be there are Redfall, Minecraft Legends, Forza Motorsport, and Elder Scrolls Online. And see, I'm pretty sure this was Scobie One added a little heart next to this. I know he's really excited. But when they did announce this event, they did confirm that Starfield is getting its own event, separate event from this, because they feel like they have a lot to showcase, and that game just deserves having its own spotlight.
I'm just ready for the game. Like, I'm tired of being teased because now we're gonna end up with another Cyberpunk
Yeah, hopefully
incident.
not. Hopefully not.
Ugh.
I really hope not. And
I think we've learned enough from that where developers will not let that happen. Hopefully, other developers will learn to say, you know what? Fuck you. You don't get what you want when you want it. You're gonna get what you want when it's the way you want it.
right. And honestly, with Bethesda, they already said that if they weren't owned by Xbox, Starfield would have came out on 11/11/22. But they know that they can't have another Microsoft title, Microsoft IP, have the Halo Infinite results. They cannot. They cannot
Yeah.
afford that. So they had to delay it. They will make sure that this game will come out as pristine as possible. They are not going to miss on it. They cannot miss on this game, and I'm really hopeful because I think about it, all of their single player like mainline games have been really solid. Fallout
Yeah.
3 and 4 were I thought were really good. Elder Scrolls, all of those games were really fun. They're really well received by the community as well. So really looking forward to this event, and we'll be covering it obviously that podcast after. In regards to Xbox, though, they are releasing a new update to the console. Basically, they're going to make the consoles carbon aware. And what this means is making downloads and updates more carbon aware by lowering their emissions. The new shutdown, aka the energy saving mode option, doesn't impact performance and it will not stop overnight updates. You can also access remote features, so you don't have to worry about that as well. And basically, it's up to 20 times more powerful than the current sleep mode as well. This is another Xbox Insider update, includes an active hours setting. So this will be able to allow you to set your active hours when you're usually on the console. So then it'll
It's like the
probably
Windows updates.
right. So it just allows you to plan your updates around when you're playing it. And then it says with these changes and updates, Microsoft aims to become a zero waste and carbon negative company by 2030. So, not it's all good news here, honestly.
A
And
little far
anything,
away,
yeah,
but
and anything to save the world, honestly, and just do what's right. But another update here in regards to Xbox Game Pass Friends and Family. Obviously, we know they were testing it in other markets. Um, excuse me. It is being advertised on the PC Xbox app in the United States. So there's the test page is already now up and live. So my guess is it coming soon, and I think it might be revealed or announced at the event that's coming up here later this month. That hey, it'll be out next month or it's available today. Go sign up for that. Like I think that they could either start or end the show with something like that as well. So we'll see if that it comes to fruition. But last but not least, this was more of like a rumor kinda, but Ubisoft Plus is apparently coming to the Xbox soon, and it's because the store backend has been updated and a whole bunch of Ubisoft titles have been marked as like a new tag as free, and it's counting down to January 16th or 17th. So we could see Ubisoft Plus, which is their subscription service like EA Play or Game Pass, go live on the Xbox console here in the next couple of days. which be pretty cool. But I don't know if I'll subscribe to it. I feel like they gotta maybe figure out like a bundle to add it to Game Pass. Just my
Yeah.
preference. But speaking about Ubisoft, Roger, what's going on in the Ubisoft world?
They're fucking up. So they've canceled three unannounced games. They've delayed Skull and Bones again. This is now the sixth delay, pushing it back to April 2023 or as late as December 2023. Quite a wide window. We could have
Hmm.
just said 2023.
Yeah, sometime maybe. Big maybe.
And then hopefully we'll see it before the end of the year. Because this game could flop right on launch.
Yeah.
They're worried about it because after Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope and Just Dance 2023, the performance that they saw in sales for those games kind of spooks them into thinking that maybe Skull and Bones needs to be a better game and not a Ubisoft title.
Yeah. Typical.
But they still have Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora and Assassin's Creed Mirage releasing during this next fiscal year.
Hmm.
So we'll see how the things pan out as the year progresses, but it is still only January.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited for Assassin's Creed Mirage because this is getting back to that smaller world game, focusing on and the stealth, the classic feel of what Assassin's Creed was, as opposed to having that massive, huge open world.
Or being a Viking,
Yeah,
like, you know,
where you can just
Vikings
walk
aren't
around being
known
brutal.
for yeah, yeah, they're not known for stealth. But Vic, what's going on at Nintendo?
Just real quick, company NYXI reveals a new GameCube style Nintendo Switch controller slash Joy-Con, and this looks pretty badass. It looks exactly like the OG GameCube controller when it's together, but then you can attach it to the ends of the Switch. You can play that in handheld mode as well, and this is just phenomenal. I mean, obviously they have the whole Nintendo like pass where you can play classic Nintendo games. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some new GameCube games dropping to the Switch Online store.
I would be interested to see it. But
Yeah,
I don't know if we're
Chronicles of
gonna
Myrrh.
see it. What was
I,
that?
what was it? Chronicles of Myrrh for the
Yeah.
GameCube. Get a Resident Evil 4 remake. Get a couple things that really only
Or
work.
like
GameCube.
Metroid Prime, like if they
Oh,
re-released Metroid Prime right before, potentially the
actually
new
did
Metroid game.
yeah,
Yeah, that would make
that'd be
sense.
good. That'd be nice.
But to
But
round
I
out
doubt
our
it.
gaming news, though, Roger, Piranha Games. What's going on over there?
Prana Games president Russ Bullock has revealed the existence of a new project during a recent podcast he was on. We should be seeing a new Mech Warrior game coming next year. Now, this is 3 years since the previous Mech Warrior game, Mech Warrior 5, Mercenaries. So it's been a while, but we might be seeing a new Mech Warrior game. This comes after the announcement trailer, or not announcement trailer, but the cinematic trailer and gameplay trailer of From Software's Mech game.
Yeah, Armored Core.
Hmm.
And if Armored Core is releasing this year, releasing Mech Warrior the following year is probably the smart idea, because it's gonna, I
Yeah,
think, gonna get overshadowed.
yeah, trying to drop a mech game after one of the biggest developers drops a game is kind of like, you really want to be like taking a swing in the same park? Like,
At the same time, who's gonna hit the ball first? Yeah, it's gonna be
yeah,
crazy.
no.
But let's move on to our last segment of our podcast. Just a couple of things going on in our leaks and rumors section. So, Roger, if you want to kick it off with Sony's.
Yeah, so we have a new sci-fi RPG IP leaked with a brief footage. It's a very early prototype game. The footage is from a leaked game showcase. The player is controlling a character in third person, with what appears to be a human-type monster climbing some sort of tower. It is an Unreal Engine 5 game. This is being developed by Sony's ex-developer branch alongside Unknown Studios. So we've got very little information about this, but we did get to see, some content from Sony, this being a game published by Sony Studios.
Yeah, I wonder if this was like an accidental thing, or if this was like the accidental marketing leak. You know how those go. But
Always accidental,
yeah,
Didn't mean to do
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it just depends on the reception. Like they're like, "Oh man, this looks badass." Or I'm like, "Yeah, well, we meant to do that." Or
Nobody likes it. It's like, oh man,
yeah,
we did that
Well,
was
that
sorry.
was a scrapped game design that
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
not gonna do.
yeah. So that'll be interesting to see if this is like a legitimate thing and how far it goes. But other side of the pond here, we got Xbox's leaks. This is rumored for Redfall. Obviously, we got the event coming out up here in 10 days, which I assume we're going to get the official release date then. But it's rumored to have a May 2nd release date. And just a reminder, this game is coming to Game Pass day one. If it does release in May, does that mean Starfield comes out in June, like end of June? Like that's the biggest question because, but like how close do you release these games? And they already announced that Starfield is supposed to release in that 12-month window, which was last June, so June to June. So, or is Starfield going to get delayed again? Um, because then when does Forza Motorsport get released? When does Minecraft Legends get released? Like, are they going to be like March, April, May,
The thing
June,
is,
like one
I
big
don't
game a
think we
month?
have to worry so much because remember, we're looking at different target audiences for some of these games. Like your
Yeah,
Minecraft Legends audience is going to be your strategy gamers, your StarCraft gamers, your Warcraft gamers. You know, your strategy gamers.
yeah,
So like if you're pulling from the strategy crowd, you can clearly release things like Starfield or Redfall at the same time. And
right,
you're not going to be detracting from the same audience, and it's also Game Pass day one. So
right,
like, who fucking cares? You play them both. You're
right.
not. It's not like you're ripping your dollars in half trying to make it last. You know, you have time.
Right. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I think there's three different types of targets here. I think Redfall and Starfield are going to be a similar player base. Um, it will just be interesting to see how this all plays out for sure. But as for another potential future Xbox IP or company here, Toys for Bob is rumored to be working on a new Spyro game, which has me excited, man. I bought the Spyro Reignited collection where it came with the OG first three games, played through the first one, beat it. Just Spyro was
And then
super
gave up
iconic.
halfway through.
Yeah, the second game, I was like, yeah, I had my
It was
reliving of
Phil.
my past.
it was
Um,
so good though. It was so good. It
yeah,
was so fun to play that again and have a better light on it and just like go back through the original games that you played with Spyro. It was absolutely fun to play. Great
You
time.
look at it, and you're like, I have shit taste. Damn.
No,
Nah.
no. It's for
Just
it's for eclectic, you
yeah.
know.
But Toys for Bob, I guess, released like an image on Twitter that had like a bunch of like random things, and in like the top left corner, like there's like a mini Spyro, so that it just makes the gaming community be like, they're making a new Spyro game. That's it, guys. Spyro is coming back.
Everyone wants to look into everything.
Yeah.
Every single
I mean, it makes
yeah.
sense. Like Crash just got that new announcement for like their new
yeah.
quote unquote game. Crash 4 was recently released, but honestly, where's the other third pillar from the OG PlayStation game? You had Spyro, you had Crash. What about Croc? Where is Croc at, man? Croc needs another game, and that's another game that I do have over here. If anybody does not remember Croc, this is Croc.
He's over here asking for Croc.
Like I need a new
Yes.
new Croc game to come out. That was so much fun back in the day. If they like Ape Escape, I need another Ape Escape game coming
Oh.
out. Like the
Yeah, with
classics.
better controls, like
Right.
Ape Escape, you used to have to control your character's
Oh my
direction and spin around with the right hand, and then use your left hand and the triggers to be able to change your camera.
Yeah,
Was
before
never
because
so
they didn't have
fun.
joysticks on the controller.
Like just
No, they did. That's the thing. It was always the
But you
DualShock on PS1.
but you had to like hold them and like
Yeah,
it was god
Yeah.
awful.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Because
gaming
like
has
they
come a
never
long way.
realized you could control the camera with the second control stick until like later in the PS1 years.
You like finally realize you're like,
Oh damn, this is a great idea. What were we thinking?
yeah. But Roger, if you want to close out our leaks and rumors section here with the last one,
Yeah, weirdly enough, I'm not sure why you didn't cover this one since you're the one who wants to play.
right,
Persona 3 is rumored to have a remake coming this year,
right,
or a remake to be announced this year. So,
right.
one of the classic Persona games may be getting a rework.
Right, and I'm just gonna circle back to the beginning when we were talking about the games coming out this year. Persona 3 and 4 coming to Xbox Game Pass day one, and I said Persona 4 is gonna be the one I'm more excited for because I don't want to play Persona 3 on the Game Pass day one if they're gonna be releasing a remaster of the same damn game. I want to play the game at the highest fidelity.
But you say that, but then there's also things like look at what happened with Life is Strange. Like
Right,
they're like,
right,
"Oh, here's the remaster," and they actually made the game worse.
right. So I mean, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully, what is that? Is
The
that an
hard part is
Atlas?
he won't know.
Right. Yeah, I
He'll
won't
never
know.
know if they made it worse.
Yeah, yeah, true,
I'm
true,
like, this
true.
game's great,
That's
and everyone's like, this game fucking sucks. Like the original one was way better. I'm
he's
like,
like,
I don't know
dude,
what
this
you're
is so
talking about.
much
I don't
fun.
know
I
what you're
love
talking about,
it.
guys. I'm having such a good time here.
You
Yeah.
can see his pores. He's an animated character, but you can see the pores.
This game looks phenomenal. Like, yeah, I can see how that goes. But yeah, man, that's all of our leaks and rumors, and actually everything we got for the podcast. So we definitely want to thank everyone who did check us out live today on Twitch. But make sure you follow up and watch our replays on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. But Roger, where can everyone find you at?
You can always find me at twitch.tv/lunatic_oblivion. And you can also find me on Twitter without the underscore.
Awesome. And of course, you can check me out at Twitter at Mr. Never Chillin underscore Xboxes X Never Space Chillin, Vic Brubacher on Facebook. And of course, I stream over on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/ Mr. Never Chillin. So come check out my single player playthroughs currently of Batman Arkham City and Road 69, or my bad, 96, as Roger's
Thanks.
stream was called today. So that was great. But
Nice.
nonetheless, Scott, if you want to close it out here with where they can find you at.
As always, you can find me at twitch.tv/Scoby1. You can find me on Twitter, Scoby1, and you can find me on Instagram and Xbox, Scoby1. And if you need to find me on Battle.net, Scoby1 11780.
Easy enough there. So we want to thank everyone again. But until next time, peace.